Education Matters is the effective running of the educational system, and the achievement of educational goals. This comes on air every Saturday from 3 o'clock to 4 p.m. West African time on this station, Light Radio. Our goal is to educate, inform, orientate, and entertain the society on educational matters, address issues affecting the educational system, influence public opinion, and drive effective educational policy directions to guide formulators and implementers. For your comments, questions, and contributions, you can reach us on Facebook via www.facebook.com/lightradio, on X at The Light Radio, on Instagram light_radio, and on YouTube Light Space Radio. Don't forget, you can also call us, send a message to us via SMS or WhatsApp on 0809 738 4000. We'll go for a quick break, and when we return, the program continues. Please stay with us. That's all. If you just joined in, you are listening to Education Today on Light Radio, and right now we'll take the news with Nima. And that's me. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the news and Education Today, reaching you live from Light Radio. I am Nima Ibrahim. First, the headlines. Hardship. Sanwo-Olu raises bursary scholarship awards to students. 287 students and a principal are kidnapped from Kaduna school. Student loan. Federal government explains delay in takeoff, sets new date. And on the foreign scene, UK students call on university to suspend Rabi, who served in Israeli army. Now the details. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State has approved the upward increase in the payment of both bursary and scholarship awards to students of state origin across tertiary institutions in the country as part of measures to cushion the effect of economic hardship in the state. Sanwo-Olu also announced the appointment of 4 members of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, who would serve as senior special assistants as representatives of students with the government to interface on issues of concern, as well as the approval of scholarship awards for indigent, physically challenged persons across the tertiary institutions in the state. These announcements were made at an interactive session on Tuesday held in Alausa Ikeja, with the session themed Students as Strategic Partners in the Governance Process, Challenges and Prospects for Youth Development, which was designed as part of his administration's commitment to carry along the youth in line with the Themes Plus developmental agenda capturing youth inclusion. Therefore, the governor increased the bursary awards from 50,000 naira to 60,000 naira and the scholarship payments from 200,000 naira to 225,000 naira for indigenes of the state in tertiary institutions. At least 312 students and the principal, Abubakar Isa, were abducted on Thursday, March 7th, when bandits invaded the LEA Primary and Junior Secondary School, Kuriga, in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State. Officials of the school and community leaders told Governor Uba Sani, who visited the school on Thursday, that 187 students were abducted from the secondary school section and 125 from the primary school section. One of the teachers, Sani Abdullahi, who escaped the abduction, said 25 of the pupils from the primary section had returned, leaving 287 students and the principal in custody of the bandits. Abdullahi told the governor that at exactly 7:47 a.m. he entered the acting principal's office to sign his attendance when suddenly the bandits surrounded the school premises. Governor Sani therefore assured the government would do everything within its power to ensure all the children return home safe and sound soon. The federal government has set the month of March for a definite opening of the Nigeria Education Loan Fund (NEL Fund) portal for eligible students. Dr. Akintunde Sawyer, Executive Secretary, Nel Fund, who disclosed this in an interview with the News Agency of Nigeria on Thursday in Abuja, urged eligible students to register to access the fund. Recall that President Bola Tinubu on June 12, 2023 signed the Access to Higher Education Bill into law to enable indigent students access interest-free loan to pursue their education in any Nigerian tertiary institution. The scheme was slated to commence between September and October 2023, but because of unforeseen circumstances, there was a revised timeline to January. Given reasons for the delay in starting the scheme as earlier scheduled, Sawyer explained that the process is technically driven and necessary measures needed to be put in place for proper execution. The Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, ASUP, has lauded the House of Reps for championing a separate commission for polytechnics in the country. The lecturers noted that the commission would serve as a regulatory agency only for polytechnics, just like the National Universities Commission, NUC, and National Commission for Colleges of Education, NCCE, for universities and colleges, respectively. The National Publicity Secretary of ASUP, Mr. Itoro Ekanem, who disclosed this to journalists, said the bill for an act to establish a dedicated commission for polytechnics in the country has already passed the second reading at the lower chambers of the National Assembly. Although the union noted that the NBTE, which supervises polytechnics, has been doing its bit, the body said putting other tertiary and vocational training centers under its portfolio hinders it from giving a deserved priority to polytechnics. Also, according to ASUP, NBTE has up to 600 tertiary institutions and centers under its purview. And lastly, the union urged other stakeholders and lawmakers in the quest to pass the bill, as the gesture would benefit not only the polytechnics but the country at large. And on the foreign scene, students at a university in northern England are staging a sit-in to call for the suspension of a Jewish chaplain who has served in the Israeli army during the war on Gaza. Dozens are occupying part of the Parkinson building of the University of Leeds, the latest outbreak of action after weeks of protests against Rabbi Zechariah Dush. Dush, an Israeli citizen, was called up as a reservist for 2 months late last year. While the nature of his military participation is unclear, but has nevertheless raised ethical questions. Dush's service was legal, but given the more than 30,000 Palestinians killed in the besieged trip, many are concerned. That's all for the news, but before we go, a quick recap of the major stories. Hardship: Sanwo-Olu raises bursary scholarship awards to students. 287 students and a principal kidnapped from Kaduna School. Federal government explains delay in takeoff, sets new dates for the access of student loan. And on the foreign scene, UK students call on universities to suspend Rabbi who served in Israeli army. That's the news. It was compiled by Nima Ibrahim and edited by OLUBUNMI KAZEEM. Don't forget, for the coverage of your educational programs, events, seminars, competitions, fairs, among others, you can call us on 0702-507-4268, or you can reach out to us via educationmediaservices@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. The news will be back. The program continues shortly. Thank you.
Bisi kawe re, atare
That's all we can take on the news. And right now, we will take the Juno segment with Aisha. Good afternoon, Aisha.
Good afternoon, Nima. Good afternoon and welcome to the Did You Know segment of Education Today, where we consider random ideas, thoughts, personalities, events, concepts, and celebrations that many people are unaware of. The objective is to broaden our horizon and increase our base knowledge of things around us, beyond what is taught in schools and classrooms. Today we'll be looking at Lake Chad, a shrinking oasis in Central Africa. Lake Chad, once a vast freshwater lake in the heart of Central Africa, is a story of ecological decline and resilience. Straddling the borders of Chad, Niger, Nigeria, and Cameroon, it has been a vital source of life and economic activity for millennia. Today, the lake faces immense challenges, but efforts are underway to restore its former glory. In terms of size and significance, historical records suggest Lake Chad once covered an area of up to 28,000 square kilometers, 11,000 square miles, ranking among the largest lakes in Africa. It serves as a vital freshwater source, supporting a rich ecosystem teeming with fish, birds, and diverse plant life. The lake basin has been inhabited for thousands of years. The Sao civilization flourished around the lake from the 9th to 16th centuries, leaving behind impressive archaeological remnants. The surrounding region is dotted with traditional villages and towns heavily reliant on the lake's resource for agricultural fishing and livestock grazing. Over the past 70 years, Lake Chad has shrunk dramatically, losing over 90% of its surface area. This decline is primarily attributed to climate change, which reduced rainfall and increased evaporation rates. Unsustainable water resource management practices in the lake's catchment area, including irrigation projects and population growth, have further exacerbated the situation. The shrinking lake has led to significant decline in fish population, impacting the livelihood of local fishermen. The declined balance of the lake's ecosystem has been disrupted, affecting birds, migration pattern, and plant life. The receding waterline has exposed vast swaths of land to desertification, leading to soil erosion and decline in agricultural productivity. This has created a vicious cycle, contributing to poverty and food insecurity in the region. The Lake Chad Basin Commission, established in 1964 by the four riparian countries, the LCBC is a crucial platform for the regional cooperation and management of the lake's resources. The Commission is working on the project to promote sustainable water use and explore interbasin water transfer options. An ambitious long-term project proposed transferring water from the Congo River Basin to replenish the Lake Chad, while technically complex and politically challenging, represents a potential solution for the lake's long-term revival. The future of Lake Chad remains uncertain. Restoring the lake to its former glory will require a concerted effort from all stakeholders. Continued investment in sustainable water management practices, coupled with the innovative solution like the Trans-Aqua project, offers a glimmer of hope. Additionally, the following points may be of interest. Lake Chad holds deep cultural and spiritual significance for the community surrounding it. Its revival is crucial for preserving the region's cultural heritage. Security concerns, the environmental degradation around Lake Chad has contributed to instability in the region, creating fertile ground for extremist groups to exploit. A restored lake can promote peace and development. Lake Chad serves as stark reminder of the delicate balance of our planet's ecosystem. Its challenges demand international cooperation and innovative solutions to ensure a sustainable future for the lake and the communities that depend on it. That's it on the Did You Know segment. I remain Aisha Hussein. Education Today continues in a moment. Don't go anywhere.
Ẹ̀kọ́ dára púpọ̀, ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́. Ẹ̀kọ́ dára púpọ̀, ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́. Ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga, ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, tẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga, ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, tẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, tẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ọmọ tí kò gbẹ́kọ̀, ó dáni lójú pé yóò jìyà. Ọmọ tí kò gba ẹ̀kọ́, ó dáni lójú pé yóò jìyà. Iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe, tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, tẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Iṣẹ́ burúkú ni wọ́n ń ṣe, tí wọ́n bá jalè wọ́n wá tún fọ́lé. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, tẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ dákun yé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, tẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
That was the Genial segment, and right now we'll take the International Day segment with Amina. Hello, Amina, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon and welcome to the International Day segment of Education Today, where we take a look at different days earmarked by the United Nations to commemorate different aspects of our lives as global citizens. I am Karim Aminat. Today, we will be considering International Women's Day commemorated every March 8th. Today, we would be considering International Women's Day commemorated every March 8th. Originating in 1911, this day was established to honor the achievements, resilience, and contributions of women and advocate gender equality around the globe. March 8th, a date etched in history, now serves as a rallying cry for empowerment and solidarity across the globe. The United Nations began commemorating the holiday in 1975, which was International Women's Year, and its General Assembly officially recognized the day 2 years later. It is an occasion to celebrate progress made towards achieving gender equality and women's empowerment, but also to critically reflect on those accomplishments and strive for a greater momentum towards gender equality worldwide. On 8 March 1911, there was a women's suffrage march in London calling for women's right to vote, at which high-profile campaigner Sylvia Pankhurst was arrested. In 2001, the International Women'sDay.com platform was launched to reignite attention for the day, celebrate women's achievements, and continue to call for gender equality. It began live as National Women's Day in the United States back in February 1909. The following year, at the Second International Conference of Working Women in Copenhagen, Denmark, women's rights activist Clara Zetkin called for an International Women's Day to give women a greater voice to further their demand for equal rights. It was unanimously approved by the female attendees from 17 countries, including Finland's first women MPs. International Women's Day was marked for the first time in March 1911, and the date was fixed as 8th March in 1913. The United Nations celebrated it for the first time in 1975 and in 1996. It announced its first annual theme, celebrating the past, planning for the future. Each year, there are effectively two different themes. One proposed as a campaign theme for the International Women's Day website, which this year is Inspire Inclusion, and the United Nations official, which this year is Invest in Women, Accelerates Progress. Dating back to the early 20th century, this day emerged as a symbol of women's fight for equality, rights, and recognition. It stands as a tribute to the brave souls who paved the way for progress and a reminder of the ongoing journey towards gender equality. International Women's Day may have passed, but its significance continues to resonate. But why should the celebration be confined to just one day? The truth is, every day presents an opportunity to honor and uplift the women in our lives. Whether it's a mentor who guided us, a friend who supported us, or a mother who nurtured us, women play an invaluable role in shaping our experiences and shaping our world. Let's make a habit to send wishes, express gratitude, and celebrate the women who enrich our lives, not just on International Women's Day, but every single day. Together, let's create a culture of recognition, empowerment, and support for women everywhere. To all the wonderful women out there, from all of us at Education Today, we say it's an happy International Women's Day. And that's it on the International Days segment. I am Aminat Karim. Today, I am Karim Aminat. Education Today continues in a moment. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
You're still on to Education Today on Light Radio, and right now we are moving into the discourse segment, and our guest is very much here with us. And today we will be discussing relevant IT skills in today's world. Today we will be discussing resumption of attack on schools. Which way to go, Nigeria? Again, the topic for today's discourse, I beg your pardon for the mistake I just made earlier. The topic for today's discourse would be resumption of attacks on schools. Which way to go, Nigeria? All right, so before we go into the discourse proper, the question for today's quiz is, what are the countries that make up the Lake Chad Basin Commission? Again, the question is, what are the countries that make up the Lake Chad Basin Commission? Don't forget, you can drop your comments. You can drop your answer as comments under any of our live feeds on Facebook and YouTube. And you can as well text it to the numbers displaying on the screen. Thank you. So, without further ado, first off, it seems as if we had a silent moment this past month on the attacks on schools, but just last week we just read in the news again that a primary and junior secondary school in Kaduna were attacked, and over 300 students were initially abducted, but we now have 287 to be the figure of students that are still with the bandits, including their principal. So what is your reaction to this? It's been a while that we heard of the attacks, or that the attacks actually took place in Nigeria. So what is your reaction to this new gory development?
Good afternoon, our viewers. Good afternoon, our listeners. I'm OLUBUNMI KAZEEM, and it's a pleasure to be here again. Concerning the question that you asked, it's had development for us as a nation, and I think it actually calls for serious concern. It's a cause for worry for Nigerians, for the government, for the people of Kaduna State, for the families of the abductees, as well as for those of us that actually have anything connected with education. As a stakeholder, as far as the education sector is concerned, I feel worried and I feel very, very sad that such a quantum of people can be kidnapped at once, moved
in daytime,
broad daylight. Actually, it was in the morning. It's
gory.
very sad. It's disappointing. And one way or the other, sometimes, for me, I want to remain an optimist, but the events are actually making me lose trust and hope in the government.
Not just you, I guess.
In the country generally, that I hope we are not actually shifting gradually to what people refer to as a failed state. I don't want to believe Nigeria is a failed state. I just feel that we actually have a bunch of people who constitute the government but really don't understand what governance is about. I want to remain an optimist. But then, seriously, I am not too comfortable with that situation. And it reminds me of the series of incidents that we've had in the past, which till today probably we've not even brought total closure to some of them. In 2014, we had the Chibok girls abduction.
Still fresh in our memories.
Still there. So we have the abduction of girls from Dapchi in Yobe State. We had the Buniadi attack. In fact, those ones were actually a male hostel and they killed even many students. We've had series of abductions, Kankara, so many different cities, even in Gusau, in Zamfara State, in Sokoto, in Niger State. Schools have been attacked. And the question then is it a crime for people to say we actually want to go to school in Nigeria? And mind you, a lot of us actually feel that, oh, it's a northern affair. Remember that students that were kidnapped in Ekiti State,
It's close.
That's very close home here. The students were abducted, including their teachers, in their school bus. And eventually the driver of that school bus was killed while, those students and the teachers regained their freedom. But then, it does not mean that we are actually all free. We are alienated from some of these attacks. I would remember that around 2015 or 2016, thereabout, during the administration of Mr. Akim Ambode of Lagos, we had students that were actually kidnapped in Egbonla and Ekpe,
Yes.
as well as in Ikorodu. So that shows us that the issue of school safety is a national issue, and government must actually see it as that. So not until probably the child of a prominent person is kidnapped, or a prominent school that we probably feel like, yeah, this one is actually one of the Ivy League schools, or whatsoever, that will probably now need to react.
So, are we returning to the grim era of school attacks in northern Nigeria with all of these things now happening?
Sincerely, I don't know, because we felt that at least there was a break in the attacks on schools. At least to some extent, we probably have a reduction in some of these attacks under this new dispensation. But then remember that of Ekiti State happened under this current administration. In fact, this particular year, where we also had the killing of traditional rulers in Ekiti State, and the other one in Kwara State, Ekiti local government to be precise. So, but then that this now happened, and we also had another insurgent attack in Borno State, where IDP camps were attacked, buildings were razed to the ground. That shows quite well that for this government, security should actually be the top priority, not just even the economy. See, you cannot talk about revamping the economy when there is insecurity. And mind you, even the economic challenges we are having, the food inflation we are talking about, is tied to that of security, because farmers can't go to the farm.
Exactly.
So people can't farm. And at the end of the day, we have reduction in our agricultural production. And at the end of the day, it means the few communities where farming could still take place, at the end of the day, we have more people running after few. So we have a higher demand over supply, and naturally the prices would go up. So that's simple economics. And for this government, see, you can't talk about their attention on generating revenue. That it shows probably we actually don't understand our priorities. We need to prioritize our attention. Security first. Every other thing can then follow.
Yes, should be. Looking at the magnitude of the attacks over the years, starting from as far back as the 2014 girls attack and up to the recent one that happened last week, what do you think went wrong? Because we keep having all this safety, the school safety, that what exactly is that thing that you can pinpoint as what went wrong, and how do you think we can salvage the situation? Or is it that we should just continue to accept this as a norm till it actually hits home, and even the common person
Cannot
here,
move
yes,
freely.
gets affected?
Well, there are different perspectives to it as to what actually went wrong. First is the failure of intelligence.
The what?
Failure of intelligence, security
How?
intelligence, in the
Okay.
sense that
Security.
you cannot have an attack of such a magnitude and we don't have any intelligence as to whether these guys are moving, these guys would probably strike and things like that. So the question then is, why do we have agencies like the DSS?
I really wonder too.
Are you saying we don't have a Department of Intelligence in the Nigerian police? What happened to all these so-called, some of these attack helicopters and the likes like that we spent to acquire these platforms? So what are we using them for? Beyond that, is also the fact that it shows it's also a function of impunity, because you have people appointed into positions and they fail to deliver on their mandate and there are no consequences. Imagine if that, how do I actually employ someone to work for me and the person fails to work and will continue to get salary?
Paid.
That person gets paid, that person gets promotion,
Without doing anything.
allowances and all that without anything. So are you saying there are no key performance indicators for our intelligence agencies? Then again, it's also the fact that it shows the loss of trust in the government and the loss of trust in the capacity of the security agencies. Because if there is that trust there, that they have what it takes to surmount some of these challenges, and that they are ready and willing to, surmount these challenges, the people, the community, see, let me tell you, these bandits, they live in and around our communities. These bandits would come, whether they are bandits, whether they are terrorists. In fact, we are the one actually giving them names as we like. We feel like trying to see, these guys are terrorists. Simple. So at the end of the day, you go ahead and wipe them out. But then these people would come in, they would amass themselves, they would mobilize, they will move in troops in numbers. And you're telling me that
Nobody sees
you
them.
don't have the security agencies noticing such the movement of, see, let me tell you,
They went
see,
to desert to operate that.
you can't tell me that 10 people would abduct about 300 people in a school.
How?
That's that. Minus that is this, that the attack now happened 24 hours after. We really can't even say this was the direction they took.
No CCTV camera.
no
No
thing.
camera.
See, it's not even about CCTV camera. So are you saying that the community members
Do not know.
No
did
one saw
not see anything
Maybe
and they
are
just
scared.
vanished like that? If they are scared, it means that they don't have trust in the capacity of the police to keep their identity safe if they volunteer such information.
That too.
Another thing you need to look at is the fact that in the South, we don't have lots of these attacks, but you can't count the number of checkpoints that you would come across, especially the Southeast region. It's over-policed. The concentration of security checkpoints are just too much. It's ridiculous. The question is, what exactly are we afraid of in the Southeast? And in the North, where we have concentration of attacks in the North Central, you're talking about Plateau, you're talking about Benue, you're talking about Kaduna, you're talking about Niger, you're talking about, Katsina, you're talking about Borno, and you don't have presence of security agents in all these areas. You don't have some of these checkpoints. Are we truly serious as a nation? No, serious. It begs, for question that what exactly are we interested in? What exactly are we doing? And what exactly is our priority? We're talking about a place where a lot of people don't even want to go to school.
And the few that managed to
And the
show
few
up,
that manage to show up at the entrance of the school are actually being
that-
abducted.
or they take some of them, their dead bodies to their families.
Parents. Everybody.
No,
So
it's not
how
even
then do you want to
about girls.
convince others to say that it's still safe to go to school?
How on earth?
So with all of these things happening, looking back, everything is happening in schools. Very few of them are happening on farm and families. So I want to ask, why do you feel that all these terrorists attack schools? Because school is more of their target.
Yes, these children are harmless. They are not even from rich families. So
Of
why
course.
the concentration on
On
them?
schools.
No, good. I love that question. If you're to look at it critically, this school is a soft target that attracts attention. I'm coming. If there is a random attack, on a community where probably you don't have government presence and you don't have anything that could actually command the attention of the government. There are so many attacks that have actually been going on a daily basis in this country that actually go unreported. But then, a school is attacked, children are kidnapped, parents will cry, communities will cry, the press will cry. See, if this attack had not appropriately happening in a school, we won't be giving it attention as we are doing that right now. We won't be discussing this matter.
Probably.
And the pressure will not be on the government to actually get them released because they're students. So they're like government property. See, that's the idea. And the thing is, these people actually want
Publicity.
they want publicity, they want the attention, they like the fame they are getting. After all, these people said, we have actually decimated the Boko Haram. We have actually wiped out the bandits. And they are telling the government that.
We are still here.
Now here we do. We know they go anywhere. We own this place. Invariably, that's what they're telling the government.
There's nothing you can do.
We are in control.
They're still in business.
So, in fact, we are the government here. Let me tell you, there are communities in Nigeria today that terrorists actually charge taxes on the people. Yes, they collect taxes from farmers before they can access the farm. Before they can harvest, they get their own, they tax them. And if you're stubborn, they kill you.
I thought we only see that
So,
in movies.
now, unfortunately, it's the reality is what we are experiencing in Nigeria. But do you know that a lot of those issues don't gain the attention of the government because they are just normal people, random people. But a school is attacked, such a large number of people are kidnapped. The next thing is everybody will look up to the government. What are you doing? Government, what is happening? These people, they are innocent children. The attention, children, defenseless citizens, harmless citizens. Now, these are the people that are now subject of attack. The idea is we want to get the attention of the government, and if possible, government will have to pay us ransom, and with that ransom, we even be able to acquire more weapons. Yeah. So now,
That's
and
the business.
they did it, and they've got the attention they actually wanted. But the question is, should government just be about giving attention to these people, or government actually, acting appropriately?
Indeed, that's a question, for our government to answer. So now my own question would stem from Aisha's question. And like you answered, they've done what they want to do. They've proven their points. They've got their attention, the publicity and all. But then, on the flip side, what are the effects that this is going to have on schooling, on education in the northern parts of the country? Recently, the government has been making impacts. They're trying to revive the education in the northern part, and then this happens again. What message is this going to pass to the families over there?
It's telling you that keep your children at home. That's number one effect. See, it might be unpalatable to the ears, but it's the reality of what would happen. Parents have this mentality that anything that would happen, let it happen
Under
my watch. And if anything would happen to my children, let it
Happen to me
anything
first.
negative, if it will happen to my children, then let it be probably after I am dead, not when I'm alive. So at the end of the day, even though it's not as if parents have the capacity to protect their children against these bandits, but they're like,
Yes.
at least they're under
I'll
my
use
care.
all my power.
See, whatever I have, I know I'm gonna give. Even if it has to be to negotiate with these guys, please, what exactly do you want? Spare my kids and take whatever you want to take and go away. But then, they've gone to school. And at the end of the day, I keep waiting. My children don't come back. So would you, if I were to be another parent, if probably my child escaped that attack by the whiskers, do you think the following day I would allow my child to go back to that school?
Never.
So that's one. Number two, so parents will be scared to actually release their children to go to school. And what would happen? The implication of that is we would increase the number of out-of-school population in Nigeria. Already, we have about 20 million out-of-school population in Nigeria.
And the higher percentage is
Is
from
in the north.
actually.
See, more than 90%. Now, this would worsen that situation, even for those who are actually interested. Another thing is actually that it might actually lead to the death of many schools in northern Nigeria, and you will probably see a higher pressure of people coming down south. Already it is happening.
Yes.
Climate change is causing that. Unemployment is causing that. The economy of the north, ravaged by insecurity, has actually forced a lot of people down. Now, schools are now being forced to be closed. So at the end of the day, you have many people coming down. And for those who will probably choose to remain, they will tell you, I would rather remain uneducated.
Yes, that's the option that is.
That remains the option.
Safer.
And by the time you have that, what are you saying? That you have a lot of people without the requisite education. So how will they function as a citizen in 21st century? So it means you have more people that would prove to be more difficult for the government to govern. Then you have possible recruits for terrorists and anti-state agents. Because at the end of the day, they'll tell you, we told you that this government, this democracy is not working and will never work. And at the end of it, is that not the message of the terrorists? That you not even have citizens saying that if government cannot protect us, then let us just even go back to the Boko Haram people.
So what do you think the government can do to stem the tide of all of these attacks?
We should be proactive rather than being reactive.
Proactiveness.
No, because it has always been a case of the attack will now respond.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense. Why should we always wait for them to attack us? I will not start. Unfortunately, the security agents, they now have a template of press release.
It seems so.
No, the next thing you hear is, no, we are in hot pursuits of the attackers, and we'll bring them to book. And at the end of the day, and we know it's a lie. How many people
have they brought to book?
How many school children that were abducted have we been able to successfully bring back without paying a ransom? How many? Let it please come out and tell us. Of all these attacks that we have talked about, how many were actually brought back and rescued by the security agents themselves? So why should we always wait before we actually do the needful? Why can't we infiltrate the ranks of these guys? It shows that it's the opposite that has happened. They have infiltrated our ranks. So they can ambush our security men. They know when they are coming. They know which path they would follow. They know when the schools are actually left defenseless. So in all of this, it shows that we are really not working on intelligence, because the idea of intelligence is you prevent these attacks.
Okay.
So it should be preventive measures for the government. And unfortunately, I think there should be consequences for wrong actions. There should be consequences for failure to do your constitutionally defined roles. And unfortunately, see, if it had probably in some other climes, some people would have actually resigned.
Yes.
Or the government would have actually removed some of these people. But in Nigeria, so far it's not the child of a prominent politician or a prominent government official that was kidnapped or attacked or something like that. It's still normal. Everything is normal. At the end of the day, they wax the lyrical. That, don't worry, we are on top of the matter. When you are not on top of anything, we are on top of it, and don't worry, just go and be. Because at the end of the day, say, listen, they will tell us that for us, look at the pressure we have actually faced in the last 2 weeks. NIN is coming to an end. Now blinds have been blocked.
Yes.
For us, NIN would work. But it will not work for the security agents to actually track these abductors. These abductors will call parents. They will negotiate ransom. they would collect ransom, and eventually, probably, if those kidnapped are not killed, they would eventually release them, and we will not be able to track them. But for the citizens, you can actually ask us to go and queue in banks.
Track transactions.
You will track transactions for us, but you will not track the transaction of this. See, who's deceiving you?
So with that being said, the IGP launched the school safety squad some time ago. What do you think has become of that initiative?
And for me, and that's why I say, no matter how, in Nigeria, we are very, very beautiful when it comes to plans, policies, programs, and things like that.
Black
They
and
were
white.
always zero when it comes to implementation. Yeah, the school protection squad, nice idea. But the reality is, how has that worked
So far.
so far? How many schools have actually felt the presence of the school protection squad, who are actually, specific, like a unit within the Nigerian police dedicated to protection of schools? How many schools have, felt the presence of this squad? Have you seen any? So how many schools have been protected? How many schools have they deployed to? Or when are they actually planning to? Because see, it has been launched. They've actually, publicized the operational framework and things like that. But then, we've not seen them in any school. We've not heard that. Oh, there was an attack that was planned, but these attacks were actually repelled by the school protection squad. Mind you, the United Nations launched the school safety initiative. Billions have actually gone into it. See, it is only the money that we hear, but we don't get to see the impact. And at the end of the day, some people will be smiling home, feeding fat on our commonwealth.
Ambassadors of poverty.
But at the end of the day, we are really not seeing the impact. So it's important, I think, that beyond the school protection squad, the IG should take it a step further to ensure that it doesn't just, it should go beyond, the plans. When he was first appointed, said, I feel like a tiger and so in me, ready to devour, all these people. But the tiger has now become a chicken now. Sincerely, because at the end of the day, you see, it's all, noise. A dog that is barking that cannot bite. Sincerely. So where has that initiative gone? Sincerely, I think probably it has actually gone down, down the drain, or probably they've actually gone to sleep.
Or it's still in papers.
Still on paper, waiting. Okay, the right time. £2. In fact, let this be the first time they'll actually go out to actually recover. So if they really want to show that protection squad, that squad is effective, let them go after the bandits that actually kidnap these kids.
All right, so our last question for this segment would be, what are the things that you'd suggest the government do to make schools safer? And lastly, last but not the least, what would be your advice to the families of the abductees as well as the federal government?
Right.
Quickly.
Quickly. Let me start with the parents. First, I condole with the parents, and I pray that the needful will be done, and that by God's grace, because eventually, things that people should do, we now look up to God. God will never come down to actually answer, do some of those things. But then, because as optimistic as we are and as faithful that we are, we will still believe that God probably can help intervene, probably touch the minds of these abductors to probably release these kids, and touch the minds of the government to actually people in government to do the right thing. But then, for the parents, I condole with them, and I want to tell them that, see, listen, it's part of the vagaries of life that you don't allow people to actually make you inferior, and you should not see your desire to succeed should actually be greater than your fear of failure. And in this case, don't let any terrorists, fundamentalists, extremists, bandits, or whatever name they want to call themselves, don't let them take away the rights to education. That is actually constitutionally provided for your child. It's the right of your child to be educated. And don't let anybody dare take that away from them. Not even the government. Not even the attack by bandits should take that away from them. And it is not over. It's part of the risk of life. So don't say probably if eventually they are released, you stop your children from going to school. No. You might find a safer place to relocate to. But please, don't ever stop your children from getting educated.
The right education.
Then for the government, and I say this with all sense of sincerity, that we need to bring this to an end if we still want a future for education in Nigeria, especially in northern Nigeria. And in this case, we need to actually draw key performance indicators for our security men. And if they fail to deliver, please let them be replaced. See, it's about Nigeria, not about specific individuals. So if people understand that this position that I am, it's a position of authority, and at the same time, it's a position of responsibility, that I will be accountable to the people. So if I fail to actually do the needful, then I either throw in the towel or the government should get me removed. That will actually make them to actually focus on the main thing for which they are appointed. Then again is the fact that the government needs to look at the implication of this on the out-of-school population in northern Nigeria, because that is, you are talking about over 20 million Boko Haram waiting to actually, strike. So we are sitting on a keg of gunpowder.
Indeed.
And seriously, so there is no premium that can be too high to be placed on the issue of security. See, security first. Every other thing would follow. Security first. Enough of the attention on the economy that has actually not even produced the desired result as, Nigerians would want. But then, probably let us shift our attention to security. By the time there is security, people can go to farms, people can go to school, people can go to work, they can actually live anywhere they want. So it is important that we take note of this.
All right, that's all we can take on the discuss segment for today, and we would like to appreciate our in-house analyst, Mr. OLUBUNMI KAZEEM, for the beautiful insight he has provided on today's program. Don't forget, for the coverage of your events and to showcase your products and services, you can reach us on 0703-953-8998, or you can call or SMS us on 0702-507-4268. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let us know how you feel about today's program through our Facebook platform, www.facebook.com/education today, or you can send us an email via educationmediaservices@gmail.com. Many thanks to the entire crew of Education Today and the management of Light Radio. Do join us same time next week on this station, Light Radio. I remain Nima Ibrahim, and
Aisha was saying here.
thank you. See you next week.
Bye.